guys, I'm Bailey. Thanks for clicking on my channel. Today I want to talk to you about breastfeeding. So this video is kind of in conjunction with the postpartum video that I did. I basically talked about 10 things that nobody told me about postpartum that I experienced that I wanted to share with you guys so that you could feel like you weren't alone. And one of the points I touched on was breastfeeding. It warranted its own video. So if you're interested in hearing more, then just keep watching. So I always knew that I wanted to breastfeed. So before he was born, I did some research on infant formulas and I chose this one. Let me show it to you. It's the Combiotic First Infant Milk, a HIP organic. And I just want to say that I truly believe fed is best. So I don't want anyone to watch this and feel like they either chose not to breastfeed or weren't able to breastfeed and feel upset. I did choose to breastfeed, but had I have had issues with my milk or things like that, then I would have totally formula fed him, and as long as he's getting fed, then that's all that would have mattered to me. But when I was pregnant, I really wanted to breastfeed him. I felt like it would be a good bonding experience for us and it would be easy for me to just feed him anywhere on demand. So when I was nursing him, the midwives were holding him against my breast and I was really struggling to get him to latch properly. And I guess their lips are supposed to be phalanged, so like this. Both his upper and lower lip were tucked under, like this. And so he was latching, but his lips were tucked, so they kept trying to get me to untuck his lips. His mouth and his lips were so tiny at the time that it was really hard because I would undo the latch and then he'd have to relatch every time I did that. One midwife told me that he could potentially have a lip tie, one said he could have a tongue tie. It was stressful because I didn't think that breastfeeding would hurt that much, but for some reason, to me, it felt more painful than childbirth. But I had so much milk to give him that I figured it would be a shame to formula feed him. So I said, I'm gonna stick it out. We're gonna make this work. My husband and I hired a lactation consultant, and she came and she showed us different positions that he could nurse in that would help relieve things, because what happened was Kai's latch, I guess because it was incorrect right from the beginning, caused some sort of weird friction, on my nipple, and it became really scabby and bloody. And so every single time that he latched, I would cry and scream, not loud, but I was in so much pain, and I just kept saying, stick it out, you really wanted to do this. And I had all this milk, so if I would feel guilty not giving it to him. I dreaded feeding him for the first 5 weeks. By day 3, my one nipple had scabbed over so much that nothing could come in contact with it. Not a shirt, not a bra, nothing could touch it. So pumping was a lot less painful than nursing him. So I would pump that one breast, and then Chris would spoon feed him the milk from that breast because he was so young. He was 3 days old. We didn't want to give him a bottle because we didn't want to create nipple confusion. We didn't want him to, get used to the bottle or then have to try to figure out how to latch onto the bottle when he was already struggling to latch onto my nipple. In those first 3 days, they really just take in colostrum anyways. Their tummies are so tiny. They don't need a lot of milk. So it was just a matter of making sure we got some into his system. And then I would nurse him on the other breast. It was still so painful, but at least he could come in contact with it. So that was my way of dealing with it until a lactation consultant could come, because she wasn't able to come until he was 5 days old. So that's how we got through the first 5 days. And that's another reason why I didn't want visitors, and I said this in my postpartum video, so if you're interested in it, just click the link above. But I didn't want visitors because I had to just walk around topless because I was in so much pain. Nothing could touch that area, and again, it was just constantly leaking, because my breasts were so engorged, and that's what happens early on. Your body doesn't know how much milk to make. So after the lactation consultant came, I felt like I had more tools. I could nurse him in different positions, and what worked best for me after she came was lying on my side. So I would lay on my side and nurse him that way, and it seemed to relieve some of the pain. Another thing that seemed to relieve the pain from nursing him is doing different positions every time, because if you think of it, if his mouth is in the same position every time, the friction is rubbing up on those same spots. So it was about 5 weeks when it stopped hurting, and every day it would get better. Like after the first three weeks, each day would slowly get better, and I kept saying to Chris, oh my gosh, today hurt a little less, today hurt a little less, to the point where I finally said today didn't hurt at all. And I was so happy. Those 5 weeks were really hard for us because we had to establish this breastfeeding relationship, and it took a lot of time. When I first had him, it was really difficult for me to be able to latch him in public places because I would need all of my hands. And when I say all, I mean like more than what I have. But now when we're out in public, he's able to just find my nipple. I can just put him under the nursing cover. He can find it. I don't have to maneuver his head anymore. It's so much easier. We did give him his first bottle when he was 4 weeks old. We gave him a Komotomo bottle, and he took to it really easily. I had pumped some breast milk because it was our wedding anniversary and I knew I wanted to have a glass of wine. Chris gave him the bottle because the midwife had said, make sure somebody else feeds him from the bottle so that it doesn't cause confusion. He took to the bottle and then he went right back to the breast. No problem at all with those bottles. And I know I've heard of other ones doing just as well. We bought 2 Komotomo bottles and I've been really happy with them. I hardly ever have to use them. I use a manual breast pump because I don't pump very often. I just got the Medela manual pump one and it works really well. I love it. I also use the Haka where you just suction it onto the other breast while the baby's feeding and it triggers your letdown, and that's usually enough for a bottle's worth of food. So if you're a very occasional pumper, I would say do not go out and spend a ton of money on a breast pump. I'd also like to say that if you're struggling to breastfeed and it's something that you really want to do and you have the milk to do it, then try to stick it out. I am so glad that I stuck it out. I just feel like it's such a bonding experience for us. We cuddle. It's so easy to feed him. I don't have to warm anything up. I don't have to do any preparations. If he's really crying and we're in the car, I just crawl into the back seat and nurse him. Of course, after I've pulled over. Sometimes I'll take fenugreek. You can get it at like your local health food store and it helps increase your milk supply. They suggest taking 3 a day, 1 with each meal, I think. But I only take 1 if I'm gonna pump that day. So I'll take 1 right before I pump. Or sometimes I'll take 1 in the evening if he's really fussy, because your milk actually decreases in the evening. I do find that when I consume a lot of dairy, he spits up a lot more and he's fussier, like he has a tummy ache, so I try not to consume a whole lot of dairy. But overall, I am so glad that I nurse him. I absolutely love it, and I just wanted to share my experience with you. I would say go for it and just inform yourself before you get into it, because it's something that I did not do and it did not come naturally to me. And if it came naturally to you guys, then props to you, but for some reason it just didn't come naturally to us and it took a really long time. So anyways, that's all I want to say today about breastfeeding. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, click the like button, and if you want to see more natural mama updates about natural childbirth, fun little videos that I like to do with my husband and things like that, then subscribe for more.